love can have no expectations. Love can have no demands, and love can place no demands on others. We have all had experiences where we have made overtures, we have given people olive branches, we have outstretched open arms and open hands, and we have been slapped down, smacked down, again, rebuked, rejected, ridiculed. It hurts us at first because we put so much of ourselves into it, and we long so desperately to make that connection. When we are motivated by love, and it's real love and generosity and compassion and giving and serving, and that's what drives us and motivates us in life. Let's face it, it hurts to be rejected. It's hard not to take it personally. And we all know this. We all have experienced this. But love requires us to embody it in its true, pure, unconditional nature. To love without any conditions, including to be received, to be welcomed, to be accepted. That's a condition. If we extend a helping hand or an olive branch or open arms, and we reach out to someone because we think we can help them, and we honestly and earnestly long to be of a positive difference in their life and to uplift them, we must recognize the law of free will. The law of free will, not even the gods will violate that law. How many atheists are there in this world who, by virtue of the fact that they reject the very notion of God, live antithetically to their higher self? Or perhaps they do, perhaps they don't. Perhaps they're just completely unconscious of the decisions they make that come intuitively. They just assume that that's coming from their brain or coming from wherever, but it's not coming from God, right? So they just take for granted that it's just them. Imagine what it's like to be an innermost being and your mortal vessel rejects you, denies you. The quote, the Bible passage where Jesus says to Peter, before this night is out, I tell you, before this night is out, you will reject me 3 times. And Peter says, no, 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 that's impossible. That's never going to happen. That's impossible. And Jesus says to him, says, rest assured, I know what I'm talking about. You are going to reject me 3 times. And that's a symbol, that's an allegory for how we reject our innermost being in our mind, in our heart, and in our sex, in our body. We reject the will of God. And we reject even knowing him when we think, I did this and I did that, and I'm the greatest. So one of the reasons why it's so important to have gratitude towards your mortal spouse and be grateful and not take them for granted is because if you can't take your wife for granted, how are you not going to take your divine mother for granted? It's a hard lesson to learn, and unconditional love is really a tough one for us mortals. But you know who's very good at unconditional love are women to their children, and some women to their husbands. But there can be a problem with that as well if the husband takes it for granted and the husband exploits it, because that's also a problem. So unconditional love doesn't mean being a pushover. Unconditional love doesn't mean being a wet blanket. Unconditional love is not being a nice guy who finishes last. You know that expression. Jordan Peterson will go off on hours on this topic about you can't go around being a pushover. And actually, long before Jordan Peterson even had his videos on YouTube, we were dating someone who said to us outright, we were dating, and she said, you got to stop being nice to me like this all the time. You can't be so nice to women all the time. I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, if you're so nice to women all the time, women turn into real bitches. And I meditated on that. And of course, it came to me that's, yeah, because how can a woman respect a man who is just a wet blanket and a pushover and does whatever she wants, whenever she wants to, and isn't capable of making a decision for them as a couple without asking her first? Is this okay? Because a man like that is not strong, is not decisive, and is not even able to put his foot down, let alone willing, a woman will lose all respect for a weak man. But that doesn't mean you have to be a tyrant or a bully or an asshole. No, it just means that you embody unconditional love. And unconditional love includes telling people exactly what they don't want to hear, precisely when they least want to hear it, but when they most need to hear it. That's not going to win you any favors. That's not going to win you any accolades. And that's not going to win you many friends on the internet. That's not going to win you hundreds of thousands or millions of followers on your YouTube channel. We know from experience, but we're not going to be like all the other so-called spiritual gurus out there, spoon feeding people milk and honey and stroking their egos and speaking to them like they're already gods already and they're already one with the universe, and oh, that's kumbaya and harmony and rainbows and unicorns, and that so sickens us to our very core. That is so antithetical to love, to what love really truly is. And most people can't handle it, especially young people. They can't handle the truth. It's like Plato said thousands of years ago, the most hated man is the one who speaks the truth. But beauty is truth, truth, beauty. These are part and parcel with love. Love cannot lie. Love does not lie. Love is unconditional, but it rattles us. It does. It's not easy to maintain composure when you're here putting your heart and soul in, you're living your bliss, but we're just in kindergarten as far as that's concerned. Because a few weeks ago when we were talking about bliss, we were referencing the passion of the Christ and the stages of the cross, Jesus going up to Golgotha, people not just hurling slurs and slander and hatred, but don't think for a moment that his back covered in scars by the whips, by the lashes, don't think for a moment that some clever trolls on the side of that road weren't throwing salt on him. He who was greeted with palms in Jerusalem was now feeling the true wild oscillations of the world and all the wrath and all the hatred of the Jewish authority and all those who follow them. And Jesus was able to endure it all with equanimity because love endures all. And unconditional love, so that the people throwing stones at you, rubbing salt in your wounds, slurs, insults, and every conceivable possible way your enemies are stripping you down naked and lashing you and humiliating you and harming you, we who are on the path of the Bodhisattva must look them in the eye and say unironically, without a shred of doubt, without a shred of ingenuousness, be able to look them in the eye. And even if we don't say it out loud to their face, we say it in our heart that we love them. And Lord, forgive them, for they know not what they do. They're suffering. They're in hell. And the Bodhisattva comes into hell because of love, for the sake of love, and can do nothing but shine and give that love in its fullness, including severity and mercy, which means giving tough love when it's needed to who needs it, whether they want it or not, whether they like it or not. That's what tough love is. And the ability to do that without fear of rejection, of reprisal, of whatever.